Was Ukraine cheated by its closest ally, as America's own arms industry slows Kiev's Patriot plan? Did Trump keep Zelensky waiting on Patriot production, even while Kiev faced relentless Russian missile attacks? Is Zelensky's dream of building Patriots at home now being blocked from inside the United States itself? Are America's biggest defense companies quietly standing in the way of Kiev's most urgent air defense request? Why do US weapons makers reportedly fear Ukraine could produce Patriot interceptors faster, better and cheaper? Did Putin always know that Washington would protect its arms giants before helping Ukraine become self-reliant? Ukraine's Patriot production plan is now facing a surprising obstacle, with fear reportedly coming from America's own arms manufacturers. US arms giants reportedly worry that Ukraine could eventually build Patriot missiles faster and at much lower cost than existing American production lines. Raytheon and Lockheed Martin are wary of licensing Patriot production to Ukraine, according to The Atlantic's latest reporting. Officially, the companies cite concerns over intellectual property theft and sensitive technology transfer, arguing that Patriot data could be exposed to hostile actors. But a Republican official told The Atlantic that the deeper concern is commercial competition from Ukraine's fast-growing wartime defense industry. US firms reportedly fear Ukrainian engineers could improve Patriot interceptor designs, scale production rapidly and challenge the cost of American-made missiles. Production costs in Ukraine could end up far lower than in US factories, giving Kiev a serious pricing advantage. Wartime production has forced Ukrainian companies to shorten development cycles, rapidly modify designs and move systems from prototypes to the battlefield. Ukraine already produces around 10 million drones every year, turning its defense sector into one of the world's fastest-scaling wartime industries. By comparison, the United States produces about 100,000 drones annually, leaving Ukraine's output roughly 100 times higher. Local Patriot production could reduce Kiev's future dependence on uncertain US deliveries, especially when American stockpiles are under pressure elsewhere. Ukraine could eventually manufacture surplus interceptors for US allies, shifting from a weapons recipient into a future air defense supplier. Improved Ukrainian Patriot designs could compete with existing American products, creating commercial pressure for Raytheon and Lockheed beyond the current war. Lower manufacturing costs could also challenge the pricing structure of established US missile production, especially for export customers with limited budgets. That commercial rivalry could outlast the Ukraine war, turning today's emergency license request into tomorrow's defense industry competition. Zelensky raised the issue of Patriot licensing directly with Trump during their July 28 meeting at the White House. Kiev also requested several hundred Patriot interceptors from existing US stockpiles during that same meeting. However, Trump refused that request, citing limited American stocks and competing US priorities in the Middle East. CSIS estimates the United States used about two-thirds of its Patriot stocks during the Iran war, sharply limiting how many interceptors Washington can spare. Interestingly, 2 days later, Trump called the Patriot an extraordinary weapon, but warned that Washington must be careful about who it licenses to.
Mr. President, on Ukraine, you said the other day that you're not sure about whether to grant Ukraine the Patriot missile license that had been discussed. Do you want to see more from Zelensky before you take that action?
Well, it's a big step. Look, we have the greatest weapons in the world. We have the greatest drones in the world. People don't know that. We have the greatest weaponry in the world. We have, in the case of President Zelensky, he'd like to have some Patriots. He'd like to have some Tomahawks, which are, lethal, one offensive, one defensive. But when you give somebody the right, very complex weapons, by the way. I mean, the Patriot, as an example, the other day you read that 5 missiles were shot. They were going 8,600 miles an hour. Think of it, 8,600. Now a car, if you go 60, it gets to be a little faster. If you go 100, 8,600 miles an hour, and they were big missiles. And they were shot at Jordan, and our guys were there. Bing, 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 bing. 5. Bing, 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 bing. Right? I don't want to be by 6. I had to be very careful. That would have been a great sound bite. Right? There were 5 missiles, and we shot all 5 down before they got close. Nobody else has that capacity. These weapons are incredible. We have to be very careful about letting somebody build them. It's very important now. We are building many plants now to make those, and the Tomahawk missile is the most incredible thing. It can go into a doorway. You can put it through a window of a house. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. You have to be very judicious, but you have to be very careful. Now, we have not agreed to that. We're talking about it, but it's a hard thing to give away that kind of technology. And I don't think this would ever happen, but there's people that you give that technology and they can someday turn on you. That is possible. If you look at war, it's happened a couple of times over the years, right? So we have to be very careful. I mean, we guard that. We have the greatest military in the world, but we have the greatest weapons in the world. Now we have to make them a little bit faster because we've given a lot away. President Biden, unfortunately, gave a lot away to Ukraine. And he gave, so did I. I mean, I gave them the javelins, the tank busters. Without the javelins, that war would have been a one-day war. It would have been over. They wiped out the tanks going up to Kiev, where they got stuck in the mud. They had a general that decided to go through the mud instead of going up the highway where they were going very nicely. It would have been over. But no, I gave them the javelins. The javelins are unbelievably. We have the greatest weapons in the world. We have to be very careful about giving out the secrets to those weapons, and they're not. You can't copy them. It's a little like NVIDIA. They have a chip. They say you cannot copy it. The complexity is so great you cannot. Most things you copy. China's known for it. Other countries, we do something, and I guess we copy also. But most things you can copy pretty easily. There's a chip that they made, their ultimate chip, and they always have the ultimate chip. And I say, well, why doesn't somebody copy it? Because they can't, the complexity. They can't copy our weapons. We have the greatest weapons in the world, many of them. Those are just 2 or 3 that I mentioned, but you cannot copy them, so we have to be very careful.
Zelensky blamed bureaucratic delays and red tape for the Patriot licensing stalemate, arguing that every delay leaves Ukraine exposed. Zelensky also said Ukraine has reached an agreement for monthly US Patriot missile deliveries going forward. However, Kiev says those monthly deliveries remain far too small to meet current needs, as Russia continues launching missiles and drones at multiple targets.
We've now reached an agreement with Trump that he'll grant the licenses. But just imagine, if we'd received them 4 years ago, we'd already be manufacturing Patriots for everyone, believe me, and Europe. The parts of Europe that want and would like to have Patriots, anti-ballistic systems, and missiles would already have them all. I'm absolutely certain of that. But right now we're stuck dealing with paperwork. It's not a piece of paper flying through the air, not a paper rocket. It's a real missile that kills people. And that's why, when we say the Americans have to provide them, but the Europeans too, we're working it out with them. The process for some of these licenses is also taking a long time. And that's the truth.
The licensing fight now pits Kiev's urgent need for interceptors against American industrial concerns over technology, cost, and long-term market competition. Amid reports of depleted precision missile and interceptor stocks, the Pentagon is pushing the defense industry to boost production and shorten the time it takes to deliver critical weapons. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell confirmed that the department is focused on speeding up munitions acquisitions to provide warfighters with the weapons they need at the pace current threats demand. Deputy Defense Secretary Steve Feinberg has given major defense firms no more than 21 days to submit plans for faster delivery schedules and increased production of critical military capabilities. Feinberg said that years-long development cycles are no longer acceptable, arguing that the Pentagon must dramatically accelerate program timelines and expand U.S. production capacity immediately. Reuters reported that the U.S. Army has used much of its worldwide stockpile of highly accurate long-range surface-to-surface missiles during the 5-month Iran war, including ATACMS and precision strike missiles. U.S. analysts have warned that shrinking stocks of advanced air defense interceptors could place American troops and overseas bases at greater risk if another major conflict erupts before replenishment is complete. President Trump has pushed back strongly against reports of a U.S. munitions shortage, arguing that the reports do not reflect the full scale of America's military resources or industrial capacity. Trump said the United States has massive amounts of munitions and added that large quantities are being manufactured and sent to the military as required. Despite Trump's assurances, the Pentagon says Feinberg's emergency-style production push will help shape the fiscal 2028 defense budget request and its longer-term industrial base strategy. The Pentagon's wider defense spending legislation remains stalled in Congress, where lawmakers have clashed over the Iran war powers concerns, and the scale of future military spending. The White House has proposed raising Pentagon spending to a record $1.5 trillion for fiscal 2027, including major investments in ships, aircraft, missile defense, and munitions production.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.